Hello, this is Brian from MB Media, and we're going to do a tutorial on the image gallery editor or image slider editor or whatever you want to call it, because it does galleries, it does sliders, it does that sort of thing. And so this is a slightly different concept than the other things that we've been using the CMS for. Instead of an instance of text or something like that, basically an instance of something that we're going to edit, this is actually an instance of something holding multiple instances of something. So we need to be able to edit not only an individual thing or not only the thumbs or images or parts of the gallery that are pre-existing, but also need to add new ones, delete old ones, things such as that. So it's a little bit different concept than the previous parts of the editor, but we've got a nice gallery slash slider editor that does a very good job of dealing with it. So the first thing is the general concept behind it, and that is that any gallery, slider, etc., in the markup, which is the only thing you really need to edit the content of it, and that's the only thing we are going to edit with our editor, uh, is comes down to a single bit of HTML text that gets repeated for each slide or for each entry in the gallery. So, and then each of those individual parts that's repeated can usually be edited by changing one or more of four possible bits of data, and that is a featured image, a thumb image, a title, and a description. So what this editor does is you define a bit of HTML markup that it outputs for each instance of the gallery or each slide in the slider. And then you define which of those four things that it's going to use and where those go in the markup. And then it'll output that markup with the data for each slide or for each part of the gallery repeatedly for everything that you edit and add in the CMS. And so it'll output something like this. So what we've got here is a fairly simple image gallery that I set up, and I'm going to explain how to implement the CMS to be able to edit it. So the first thing we're going to do is figure out where the images are going to be stored, because you got a gallery, you need to have images, and you need to have the ability to upload new images and delete old ones and rename files and set images to parts of the gallery or the slider, things like that. So you need to have a folder where they're going to be stored. And here I've got an images folder at the root of the website that has all the things that we're using in it. So you notice images slash pic01, images slash pic02, and these are the featured images, or images slash thumb02, thumb01 for the thumbs. Next thing we're going to do is grab an actual instance of the slider and gallery manager. We're just going to copy it right over. And I'm going to put it in the root of the Cedar gift shop. And what we've got going on here is just like just about all the other parts of the CMS, wherever you put it and wherever you name it, that's where they're going to go to edit it. So I'm going to name it gallery editor, since we're going to be editing the gallery. So the user would go to the website /gallery editor to get to the gallery editor. Pretty logical way to have it set up. So when I go in there, what we're going to do first, very first thing, just like all the other times that we've set something up, we're going to set up a username and password for it. And that's in the index.php file. We just change it. We're just going to use user and pass like we've done before for example purposes, and we're done there. Then we're going to go to the scripts folder and the settings PHP. When we open that up, we have this little variable at the top. And what this does is it tells the PHP where the folder is that it's going to be uploading images to, renaming images from, etc., for file management purposes, basically. So, and this is going to be relative from this file itself. And so this file is in our gallery editor folder and then scripts folder. We got to go up 2 levels, .. .. and then images. So, done with that file. And now we need to find in the root here in the utils folder, there will be a file manager.js. And again, open that. And same idea here, a relative path to the folder where you're going to store the images. The only difference is this is relative from the gallery editing folder. So you only have to go up one level to get outside that folder. So we're going to up one level and images. And you're going to want to edit this too. And what this is in the HTML markup, when you've got a path to the image, you've got image name.jpg or whatever, the name of the image, and then what prefix, what path do you want put in front of it. And so in this case, it really should be a path that's to the image folder relative from the place we're going to use the image gallery. So in this case, it'll just be images /. So when it outputs the HTML for the gallery, all the images are going to say images / and then the file name as their path in the HTML. So we save that, and we're pretty much done there. And then we go to the settings. There we are, settings.js. Now what this is just a place where you can determine some of the layout and the way the CMS works. For example, not every gallery is going to use every one of these 4 possible editing things. For example, if you go into our gallery that we're using right now, notice I use a title, but I don't actually use a description anywhere. So do we want a box to show up to edit the description in the CMS? No, that would be confusing to the client. There's no description, so why would there be a place to edit the description? So we're going to say false, don't use a description. And we're just going to turn that off, and it's just not going to show in the CMS. And it'll just have a place to edit the title, the featured image, and the thumb image in the CMS. Now on top of that, you can change what the label is for the place you edit. You can also change this helps text, which is there will be a little question mark area that they can hover over and show this text in the CMS. So where this will show next to the thumb, you can put some help text in there to help remind them what they're doing. Say, this is where you upload or set a thumb image for the gallery. You just put that little sort of stuff so that they can always know what's going on and always have that little bit of help there. Even if they haven't used the CMS in quite a while, that'll help remind them what they're doing and keep things easy to go. And you can also turn for the thumb images and the featured images, you can turn off the ability to upload. So we got the allow thumb uploader and allow feature uploader. You can turn off the ability for them to use the uploader file manager to select a file and instead make them type something out. And you would do that if, for say, something like, let's say you've got a gallery where you've got thumb images, but the feature isn't actually an image. It's going to open up a YouTube video. Well, you can do that. You just, that's however your gallery utilizes the markup is however it utilizes the markup. This CMS doesn't control any of that. So if you want them to have an output that is a URL to a YouTube video instead of URL to an image, then you can do that, and you can put in the help text, input a YouTube video URL here, turn off the uploader, and then change it from feature to video, and then they'll know, okay, well, we're going to put a video text here. And then when you output this little bit of feature text in the, or feature URL into the markup, it'll be to that video. So this ends up with a very versatile way of doing things that is not very limited. So don't feel like it has to be a featured image or something like that. You can really manipulate this to do a lot of different things. All right, so we're done here. We're just not going to use a description. So we're done with settings.js. And the last bit of paths that we should need to set up is in the output html.php. So what we've got here is a gallery editor. We need a path from the place where the gallery is used to these two files that the PHP needs to know about. So really you just need to change this part of each. You're just going to change it to a path to the gallery folder. So in this case, it'll be gallery editor and gallery editor. Simple as can be. Nothing real hard there. We really haven't done anything hard so far. Just setting up some paths to files so that it knows what it's editing and why and all that stuff. So now, this is really the hardest part, and it's not really that crazy hard, and that's editing the template XSLT file. This is where you determine what the markup will look like. So I'm going to go over my HTML file. This is my bit of markup for a single part of the gallery, a single item within the gallery. And I'll paste it in here and format it a little nicer. And basically get rid of the old example. And you'll just tell it where each part's supposed to go in this markup. Example here is where we output whatever the feature is. This is where we output title. And this is where we output the thumb, just with some simple XSLT. And so now it knows what to output. Again, pretty easy there. Now, last but not least, we've got to take our little PHP snippet and replace the actual HTML in the file so that it's actually reading things. So previously, we had this little paste in HTML snippet that we used, but the gallery editor requires a slightly different snippet. So it's got its own little paste in HTML snippet text file inside its own little gallery editor folder here. So we're going to use that snippet. Copy that and paste it in place of all that HTML. And so all this is, the only thing you have to edit here is the path to the gallery editor. And since we're in the home page, it's just gallery editor / and then you leave the output html.php part because that's the file it needs to read. And so we should be good here. And right now, this CMS should be completely set up. If we go here, well, actually what we'll do is explain what's going on here. The place where this data gets stored as you edit it is in the data.xml file. And for each item within the gallery, it just has the thumb, feature, item, and description. And so I'm actually going to input some of them manually here just so the website starts out with some in it, just so for educational purposes, I guess. Images / thumb01.jpg and images thumb02.jpg. Images pic01 for the featured image and images pic02 for the other one. I'm only going to input 2 of them because I'm just teaching how it works here. And I'll just leave the title as item 1 and item 2. That'll be just fine. And notice that even though we're not using the description, I'm not deleting this. I'm still leaving it there. I'm just leaving it blank. The CMS knows not to show it, and the output, since you defined it in the XSLT, knows that it's not outputting it into the HTML. But it still just needs to be there. Just leave it blank. All 4 should be there. Just the ones that aren't being used, leave blank. And so now this will already have 2 images set up. And what you'll find when we refresh this is that here's our 2 images set up. And then we can go into, I'm actually going to create a new tab so that I can edit stuff and still view it over here. And go into the gallery editor, and log in, user pass, log in, and we have our 2 here that are showing already. In here, you'll see that there's the thumb, the feature, the title. You can edit the title, you can edit all these things. You can edit it manually, but then there's also this thing up here when you're dealing with images where you can upload and select new. And that's the part that I said you could turn off in the settings.js file. Obviously, we didn't turn them off because we wanted to be able to use this file manager. to select files for each item within the gallery. So what we're going to do here is, since we've got two, we need more. We're just going to duplicate and make another instance of this one. So now we've got two of them that say thumb02, item 2, thumb 2. And we can just select a different one for the bottom one, thumb 3, pick 3, and change the title to item 3. And this is our help text, by the way. This is where that displays. They can just roll over and get whatever help text you input for them to use. And so now we should have 3. I'll save the changes. And if we refresh over here, now we've got 3. So it's that easy to use, and it's very, very versatile. Since it's just putting out that HTML markup, that's the only thing that needs to change. Whatever you do in your JavaScript or CSS or anything like that to make your gallery, it really can accommodate that, as long as it's just the 4 things it needs to edit: the thumb image, the feature image, the title, and the description, or fewer. You don't have to use all of them. So a similar concept would be for these sliders. If you had your here, so notice it actually modified the XML file for us. And so it was the same idea for the slider, just maybe you wouldn't use a thumb. You'd only use the feature image, so this part just wouldn't show. You just have the feature in the title and maybe description. And yeah, so it just edits the markup. Very versatile way of doing things. Same fundamental principle as the rest of the CMS, of where you apply it to any gallery or slider, or just about any gallery and slider, rather than having to build a gallery or slider to it. So that really makes you able to do just about anything, even applying this to old client sites that you may have built a while ago. And there's also nothing that says you have to have this to use this for a gallery or a slider. Let's say you shut off both the thumb and the feature and just had it make a list of titles and descriptions down a page because that's all you want to output. Well, you can do that. There's no real reason you can't. So it's a pretty versatile thing. So that's the main gist behind the gallery and slider editor. And so I want you guys to know that it has those abilities, and so you can really edit just about anything you need to edit in your website with some component of this CMS. So thanks for watching, and I hope you watch all the rest of the videos and learn all there is to know about the Wiz CMS, because it's some pretty cool stuff. Thank you.